Tom Brady has officially added a Caitlin Clark card to his personal collection of more than 10,000 cards, and he described it as greatness. Not just greatness. That is the same word he reserves for the most extraordinary athletes he has ever witnessed. Meanwhile, the trading card market tied to Clark's name is shattering records that no female athlete has ever approached before. Do you believe Caitlin Clark's card market could one day surpass Michael Jordan's and become the most valuable in basketball history? Share your honest prediction in the comments right now. Now let's focus on the card itself, because the specifics carry far more significance than most people understand. Tom Brady recently secured a 2024 Prizm Authentic Rookie card of Caitlin Clark for his personal collection. The card bears Clark's signature and a handwritten note, a single word: greatness. Brady shared the moment on his Instagram story, tagging Clark's account with an energized emoji and presenting it as the newest gem in his collection. Clark noticed the post, reshared it, and let the image speak for itself, opting not to comment. Before anyone chalks this up as just one celebrity showing respect to another, it's important to understand what Tom Brady's card collection truly signifies. Brady didn't start collecting as a wealthy adult with time to spare. This passion began in his childhood. He has shared that he spent every dollar he earned from his paper route buying trading cards, making roughly $3 a month, with every cent going straight into building his collection. Today, that collection reportedly surpasses 10,000 cards. This is a man who has spent decades carefully curating and expanding a collection with the same precision, discipline, and focus he brought to playing quarterback at the highest level for 22 years. When Tom Brady chooses to add someone to that collection, it's far from casual or a PR move. It's a deliberate decision by someone who understands the collectibles market inside and out and has a clear vision of which athletes belong among the very best. The card he selected carries a handwritten note from Caitlin Clark herself. One word: greatness. And this isn't Brady's first time publicly acknowledging Clark. Just last year, he placed her on his personal Mount Rushmore of athletes. Not female athletes, period. The full spectrum, every sport, every era, and Clark made the cut. A man who won 7 Super Bowls, competed against the best NFL players for more than 2 decades, and has a trained eye for elite performance, surveyed the landscape of sports and decided Caitlin Clark belongs in the conversation alongside the greatest athletes ever. Brady has also spoken publicly about the dynamic between Clark and Angel Reese, praising the rivalry, tension, and everything that comes with it. He naturally gravitates toward competition at the highest level, the only kind he ever personally experienced. That he finds the Clark matchup compelling signals that he recognizes real competitive stakes in women's basketball, worthy of his attention and respect. Now, the story moves from admiration to historic impact when we look at the numbers. In 2025, Caitlin Clark became the most collected active basketball player in the entire sport, solidifying her status not just as a star, but as a phenomenon in the trading card market. Not just the most collected active female basketball player, Caitlin Clark is the most collected active basketball player, period. In 2025 alone, over 136,700 of her cards were professionally graded. Card grading involves experts evaluating a card's condition on a scale from 1 to 10, encasing it in a protective holder, and making it tradable at premium market prices. People only invest in grading cards they believe hold serious financial value. You wouldn't pay for grading unless you expected the card's worth to justify the cost. Put Clark's achievement in perspective. Her 136,700 graded cards in 2025 outpaced the combined totals of LeBron James at 59,000, Stephen Curry at 33,000, and Anthony Edwards at 30,000. Combined, that's 122,000, still fewer than Clark alone. Clark's total surpasses the combined numbers of those 3 NBA stars by more than 14,000 cards. Even 3 of the most celebrated and commercially successful players in the league today couldn't match what Clark accomplished in a single year. The only basketball player with more graded cards in 2025 was Michael Jordan, at 206,000. Jordan, the 6-time champion, 5-time MVP, and global icon whose cultural impact was so massive that a documentary about him became essential viewing for people who had never even watched basketball. Clark sits just behind Jordan and ahead of every active player in the sport. That is the caliber of company her name keeps in the collectibles market. The individual sale records are equally historic. A flawless logo women one-of-one card sold for $660,000. That is not just the highest price for a WNBA card, nor merely the highest for a women's basketball card. It is the highest price ever paid for any women's sports card in history. $660,000 for a single piece of cardboard featuring Clark's image, and another gold vinyl one-of-one PSA 10 recently sold for $366,000. Two separate cards, each fetching more than most Americans will earn in a decade. By comparison, the previous record for a women's sports card was a Serena Williams card that sold for $266,400. Williams, arguably the greatest women's athlete in American sports history with 23 Grand Slam titles, multiple Olympic gold medals, and a career that redefined the commercial and cultural landscape of women's tennis, is now eclipsed by Clark's top card, which has already more than doubled her record. The Brady Prizm rookie card isn't a one-of-one and isn't the rarest version of Clark's card. Yet in the collectibles world, association carries enormous weight. When a card becomes part of a major collection owned by a significant figure, it gains a story and joins a larger narrative that elevates its cultural and market value. The card carries a level of provenance that adds value far beyond its technical rarity. Brady's collection is widely recognized and respected within the hobby, and having a Clark card included among decades of his carefully curated pieces places it in a context that amplifies its significance. The word greatness, handwritten by Clark, isn't merely an inscription. It's a declaration of self-awareness from a player who, from the moment she entered professional basketball, understood precisely what she was building toward and what she wanted her career to signify. This story also ties into the CBA layer, as it directly intersects with Clark's dominance in the card market and has become a genuine point of tension in the league's labor negotiations, with player agents raising concerns about how revenue from collectibles is allocated under the WNBA's group licensing agreement. Under the current system, revenue from league-wide trading card agreements is split equally among all players, regardless of individual market demand. This means that the income generated by Clark's cards, which sell far more often and at much higher prices than almost anyone else's in the league, is distributed evenly across the entire player pool. The agents representing Clark and other high-value players, such as Angel Reese, have challenged this model during the ongoing CBA negotiations. Their argument is simple. If Clark's name and image are driving the commercial activity that fuels the league's entire collectibles revenue stream, then she and other players contributing at that level should receive compensation that reflects their outsized impact. Her compensation, agents argue, should reflect her individual market impact rather than being diluted across the entire roster of every team. Meanwhile, Clark's offseason continues at a level that few active WNBA players experience. She attended the Prada Fall 2026 fashion show in Milan, front row alongside Olympic champion Eileen Gu, even as the WNBA's CBA negotiations remain unresolved. She is preparing for Team USA's World Cup qualifiers in March, delighted a 14-year-old fan with exclusive autographed Nike sneakers, and is building a brand that spans fashion, sports, philanthropy, and commercial partnerships in ways unprecedented in women's basketball. Brady's placement of Clark on his personal Mount Rushmore last year was far from casual. Consider who else occupies that list: the four greatest athletes he has witnessed in his lifetime. Those selections are intentional, not random. Brady's competitiveness operates on a level few can truly grasp, and his understanding of greatness is deliberate and deeply considered. Placing Clark on his personal Mount Rushmore was a conscious act of recognition from someone who does not hand out praise lightly. The trading card market reflects that recognition in financial terms. Collectors who pushed Clark's graded card total past $136,000 in a single year paid $660,000 for a one-of-one, and $366,000 for another, are effectively echoing Brady's assessment with their wallets. They see Clark as a generational talent whose legacy will expand over time and whose memorabilia will increase in value accordingly, investing in a story they believe is still in its early chapters, and they are likely correct. Clark is only in the opening years of what promises to be a long, elite career in women's basketball, and the card market for athletes typically sees its most dramatic appreciation after a player's peak, when the full scope of their achievements can be evaluated in hindsight. The Clark card market, with a top sale of $660,000, exists before she has won a WNBA championship, completed a full healthy season without injury, or built the statistical legacy that will ultimately define her historical significance. If the cards are already worth this much now, imagine their value in a decade. Brady understands this dynamic. He has been collecting long enough to grasp how provenance and timing shape the memorabilia market. He knows that athletes who become true generational icons see their card values grow exponentially in ways early observers could never fully anticipate. By being one of the first serious collectors to publicly acquire and display Clark's card, he is making a deliberate statement about how he expects her story to unfold. He called it greatness. He added it to his collection, tagged her in front of his massive audience, and the word she had written in her own handwriting was already there when he arrived. Clark didn't need to respond. Greatness was already on the card. Tom Brady placed Clark on his personal Mount Rushmore, added her card to his 10,000-piece collection, and called it greatness. The trading card market followed suit, shattering every record in women's sports history. And make no mistake, this story is far from over.